Hello and a really big warm welcome to this presentation from the Urban Penguin. My name is Andrew Mallett and we are continuing our dive into working with Python and our own AI applications. Don't you always wish that when you're working at the Linux command line, if you quickly need to look something up, you could do so? Well, if we create a Python script and have that within our path, we're going to be able to make queries directly from the command line rather than going into ChatGPT. So come on, let's see if we can find out how to do this. And don't forget, if you like these videos, then show your appreciation by hitting the like button or even subscribing. This is going to help other people find and locate these videos too. Now take a look at this. Maybe not the exact pixel playground we're used to at the command line, but we're looking at then working in PyCharm to have a look at the script we can create to allow us the power of querying AI from the command line of our working OS. Now, if we're working on Linux, we can run Python directly and run our script directly, so long as we put the path through to the interpreter in our shebang. You can put it also in on a Windows system, and it's going to be ignored because it begins with a comment. So it's read by the system, not by the script. So with our normal shebang in place, we're importing the sys module. The sys module is going to allow us to read the arguments passed through to the script. And that's what we really want to be able to do. We're going to execute the script from the command line and then pass an argument of what we want to search for within our back-end AI system. We've also taken the step of importing the OS module. With the OS module imported, we're going to be able to then look for environment variables to read our OpenAI API key. Lastly, you can see in these import statements, we're importing the OpenAI class from the OpenAI module. So this is a lot of our hard work that we're doing, and we can then go through and take a look at the try statement. Here we're going to populate the OpenAPI key variable by reading in the environment variable OpenAI API key. So this will have been exported within your operating system using the export OpenAPI key command. Now I could also put the key value directly into the API key variable, but I wouldn't want to because we don't really want that within our script. We want to keep that secure. If we don't have the key set, then we're going to generate a key error, and we can see then it's going to print out the statement that we haven't set the environment variable, and we can then exit the script. Moving on, we can see then that we need to go through and check with our if statement that we have provided the argument. So we can check then to see if our length of our arguments are less than 2. Remember, we always have one argument, and that's going to be the script name itself. If that is too short, if we haven't provided an argument, we can then print our error message and exit again. But assuming then we have provided the argument, we're going to be able to populate our prompt variable with our first argument. Now, do make sure that you quote the argument because it's likely to have many spaces. It's going to make up many words. So putting quotes around it is going to ensure then that it is passed through as a single argument, not multiple argument. Next up, we go into another try block where we go through then and create an instance of our OpenAI class as our client object, passing through our API key variable in the constructor. I could leave it just with empty parentheses, but this is far better as far as Python is concerned because we're being explicit about what we're using when we're creating the instance of the class. We then move ahead and carry out our completion, where we can then go through and prompt from our client, chat completions create, specifying the back-end model that we want to access. Here we're using GPT 3.5 Turbo, which is going to be good enough unless there's absolute modern day information that we require. The cutoff date for that is probably going to be January 2022, but it's going to be good enough and is one of the cheaper models to use through the API. I could also use ChatGPT-4 if I wanted more up-to-date information. It's going to be slightly slower and slightly more expensive. When we get into our messages list, this is where we can then describe how we want the system to behave. We've set it to probably the default, you are a helpful assistant. We don't really know what it wants to do, so we're setting it to something fairly generic. Then the user becomes the prompt that we want to issue. This is coming then from our argument that we discussed earlier. We then need to format this. So we can look within our next if statement where we're checking then that we have got the choices coming back from our completion. And we can then start formatting our first choice. So choice 0, the first element of the array. And then feed that through into our content, and we can have our formatted content where we make sure that it displays on multiple lines by putting in our new line separator. We can then print out our formatted content, or then go ahead and say that we had no completion, or if our try didn't work, we couldn't open up then the instance of our object, we can go through and exit. So if you are liking this, then do share your like the video, subscribe and share the video. But the good stuff is just about to begin as we try and locate then our command line and try running this on my Raspberry Pi. You can see a few queries that I've run, but this is the really good thing, is that we're able to access the power of our AI engine directly from the command line. So as I go through then and run my query, using double quotes, we can encapsulate our argument so it's read as a single argument, whereas we didn't put in the quotes, it would be read as many arguments, and we can ask it anything we want. So how many countries or sovereign states are there in the world? Now, just like ChatGPT, the application, the back-end large language models are unlikely to particularly care about spelling mistakes, so long as it doesn't really change the meaning. So you can see very quickly from the Linux command line, I've been able to identify that we've got 195 countries or sovereign states in the world, including 193 member states and 2 observer states, the Vatican City or the State of Palestine. Now, of course, when we're talking about ChatGPT, that's our application. It's not the model. Our application is our Python script, and it can access large language models such as GPT-3 and GPT-4. As we then continue, we can ask it other questions as well. And it doesn't really matter what the question relates to, so long as it's going to be answerable by our back-end model, GPT 3.5 Turbo. So we can go through an up arrow key and access our general query again. We can go through and clear out our previous query, and we can then go through and ask something else. What do you want to ask it? Oh, I don't know. Maybe we can ask it a simple subnetting question. So if we're using 16 bits for the host portion of our IP version 4 address, how many hosts can we have on our network? And I know you're all screaming at me, it's going to be 2 to the power 16 minus 2. But let's just go through and check this. It's also nice asking it stuff that you know, so we can check then the information is coming back correctly. So as it goes through and thinks about it, we can see then there it's given us 2 to the power 16, so roughly 65,536 possible hosts, but we have to subtract 2 for the network address and for the broadcast address. But of course, we can ask it anything else. Maybe we're working at the command line and we want to gain quick information and examples on creating a bash script. So we can say, show me an example of a bash if statement. So of course, then it's going to give me a nice documented argument. So we've got our age equals 25. We're testing for our age variable being greater than or equal to 18. We can then print that we're an adult, else we're going to print that we're a minor. But of course, we might be looking at this and thinking, well, okay, what if we want to test for different age ranges? Well, can we do that? Well, of course, we need to then modify our question. And we need to say, well, can you include an if statement? So as we go back, we can up arrow key and we can make the changes to the prompt to ensure then that we're going to get an example of elif coming back. So as we up arrow key, we can go through then and just extend the previous prompt by including then with elif, and we can see now we've got an elif, the age being greater than or equal to 18 and less than or equal to 65, we're an adult, otherwise we're a senior. And the way we've written the application, it doesn't remember history, so we can't really just say, oh, show me also elif. We have to build it into the original prompt. But you can see this is a glorious way now of being able to access and use AI tools from the command line. If we take a look at the script, if I can remember where I put it, and I didn't put it in USR bin, I put it in my home directory and .local bin and general query, we can see then this is the same script that we were looking at before when we saw it when we were in PyCharm. I say I'm going to make this available through the video description, but I do hope you've taken some use from this and you're going to be looking to start writing scripts of your own to do your AI work from the command line.